Welcome back. So here is your title for today, Degrees and Radians. Angles can be measured using degrees or radians. So go pencils down, get your hands and put them in front of you like this. So I want you to take your hands and open them about 45 degrees. Can we all agree that that would be roughly like this? Open your hands, let's say 100 degrees, more or less something like that. Yes? Reset. Now open your hands about pi over 4 radians. You're like, what? You don't know what that means because you've never heard of that language before. But if I say pi over 4 radians, that really means 45 degrees. But that's because I knew how to translate. If I say open your hands pi over 2 radians, you don't know what that is. But pi over 2 is the same as 90 degrees. So it's up to us to know how to translate between degrees and radians. So how do I convert from one language to the other? Here we go. From degrees to radians, what you do is you multiply by pi over 180. What if I want to go from radians and I want to turn them into degrees? In that instance, you multiply by 180 over pi. For all of these conversions to translate from one language to the other, you just type it in here. You really don't have to show any work if you don't want to. So let's do a few examples here where we go from one format to the other. Convert 235 degrees into radians. So let's see how to do this. So 235 to radians. So that means you're going from degrees to radians. So I multiply by pi over 180. So I go 235 times pi over 180. And as I said, you can literally type that in. Type that in exactly as you see it. Hit enter. And the Casio says 47 over 36 pi. Now the abbreviation for radians could just be rad. You can just leave it like that. So that's how you convert from degrees to radians. Now let's go backwards. We're just getting our feet wet, yes? We're just getting our feet wet. As time goes by, you'll become more comfortable with the idea of a radian and what the definition of a radian is. For now, let's just stick to basics. So convert, I have it written down here, convert negative 5 pi over 4 to degrees. The fact that it's negative is not going to change our procedure. We're going to go from radians to degrees. You multiply by this. So let's go negative 5 pi over 4 times 180 over pi. And literally just type that into your Casio calculator. And we get negative 225 degrees. Done. Now, another thing that I want to do before I let you go is the idea of drawing a picture of an angle. Draw a 97 degree angle. So a quick timeout. So before we draw the angle, a really quick FYI up here. If you want to graph an angle that is positive, you move in a counterclockwise direction. If your angle is negative, you move in a clockwise direction. That's sort of counterintuitive, but that's how that works. So for this one here, draw your X and Y axis. Can we all agree on a few numbers? Can we all agree that this is 0, that this is 90, that this is 180, and that this is 270? And you always start in this position. And you move counterclockwise if the angle is positive. which this is. This is 97 degrees. So let me use a different color here. Let me use green. So I always start in this position. Now, since the 97 is positive, I move this way, 97 degrees. Roughly, more or less, it'll take me right there. And this is what I do. I draw something like this. And then what I do is I highlight the original side. And I highlight, just as an FYI, that one there, that's called your initial side. And this one here where you finished, that's called the terminal side. So let me get out of the way so you can actually see this. So we have the initial side and we have the terminal side. And this little thingy here, this little part, that just shows the actual opening of the angle. Let's do one more. So how about something like this? Draw a negative 7 pi over 4 radian angle. Well, can we all agree that first I have to turn that into degrees because I have no idea what that is. So let's do some really quick scratch work off to the side. Take negative 7 pi over 4 and multiply that by 180 over pi. Let's go to our Casio. Let's type that in, negative 315 degrees. So here, that's the same as negative 315 degrees. So it's the same thing. So let's just graph this and we're done for today. So draw your X and Y axis. That's 0, that's 90, that's 180, and that's 270. So I know that the angle is negative, which means that I have to move in this direction. But how much do I have to move? I have to move 315. So watch how this works. So far, that's negative 90. If I continue, so far that's negative 180. And I keep going, that's negative 270, but I need negative 315. So from 270 to 315, that's 45 more. So I'm actually going to keep going until like right there. That's where I stop, and then I draw, that's the terminal side, and that's the initial side. And it is customary to be really bold, like with the Sharpie. It's really customary to draw the initial and the terminal side and to make them really bold, really dark. So this here, that's my initial, and this here, that is the terminal. And the little loop inside, that just shows the direction that we drew the angle in. Go to exit ticket number 11, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.